Hi, my name is Kendra Wilson. I'm a senior dance major here at Dean College, and I will be discussing the Twyla Tharp book that we've been using in our senior seminar class. So, within the first two chapters of the book, Twyla talks a lot about how to find a good habit for yourself, and she calls it a ritual, and she explains how important it is for you to give yourself a ritual or some sort of routine for yourself to have every day to keep up with your creative habits, which is really important as an artist. She says that for anything, no matter what, the first steps are hard. It's getting to start that is a difficult challenge, but she shows you how to create a ritual for yourselves with the first step so it's not as hard as it should be. Something that I have for myself is I take a night once a week, whether it be a Sunday or a Monday or whatever, and I write down all of my things that I need to do that week and organize it in my planner just to make things easier for me. And I divide it out of time slots of when I need to do things. And I always want to make things easier for myself, so this is a way that it's helped me kind of expand my way of organizing myself, and it helps me work out all my commitments that I have and everything else, and it's something that's really helped me. Um, I also have a little brown notebook that I use when I'm in the mood for creating something, and so I'll jot either choreography or songs or anything that, or teaching tips or anything that inspires me in my notebook to help me keep up with that creative side. In chapter 5, she discusses about the box and having your own organizational system, which is really important in any career. And I want to go into administration, so I feel like that's a huge part of it. And being organized is basically what keeps everything in order, no matter what it is. Having any sort of organizational system helps you in any way, so you never feel like you're forgetting anything or you forget something. So most organizational systems are practical and easy acquired. You just have to figure out what works for you. Something that works for me is I use a binder or a folder with different tabs for each of my classes, or just any way to organize it so I know where everything is and I keep everything in one spot. I don't like to disembobble everything in different places. That's not something that I can do. But I also, like I said before, I use a planner. I like to get a planner with a monthly calendar at the beginning of each month, and then it's divided into each week. And that weekly format is something that really keeps me in line for each day, because then I can see what I'm doing and what I have to do, and it just prepares me. It prepares myself a lot more. And writing things down for me is huge. No matter what it is, I'm always writing things. I'm keeping things in tasks so I do not forget, because if I didn't write everything down, I would never remember what I have to do. In chapter 6, she talks a lot about the first steps of creating an idea, which she called scratching. And I thought this chapter was super interesting because I feel like this is something I struggle with. I struggle with creating an idea. So she basically says it can be anything you want it to be. It's just that process of starting something. And I really liked what she said about where she gets her ideas, but they they really should show how she's getting her ideas, and that basically is scratching. And she continues to talk about the differences between the different kinds of ideas, and she talks about big ideas versus little ideas. And she says, without the little ideas, there would be no big ideas. When you put all your small ideas together, it can creates that big idea, which is something that I think I need to start working on, is creating those little ideas and making them one, because I'm so one to overthink, and it's so important that you can create anything with any idea. And the most important thing is to be consistent and not lose your scratching. You have to stay in shape and to be able to form well. And it's the same way creating something. You have to be consistent with creating. And the more you create, the quicker you'll be able to choose your craft. And I feel like the best way I do my scratching is I do research on whatever my idea or ideas are, or whatever I come up with. I like to research and I like to know everything about that topic. And so once I get everything together, it's easier for me because I like to know everything about every topic. I'm not one to improvise. So I like to get all the small details in. Um, so that's what I do when I come up with an idea. I like to research, and I'm not pursuing any choreography or performance, but this is important to me. This is being creative is something that I will forever do, and I will forever use my notebooks or whatever and write things down that I need. And so I'm going to talk about now in this chapter 6, we had to do exercises um, for our reading reflection. And I did exercise number 14, and this was something that was actually very interesting for me. I actually did the exercise, and we had to give ourselves some sort of challenge or forced to think of something new or think of something in a different way. And so I basically did what she does for scratching. I colored a piece of paper all the same exact color. I used purple. And it was very interesting. I felt very restricted, but I think it was a great way for me to continue my scratching and my being creative, and it helped me a lot because I'm I wouldn't call myself a perfectionist, but I do not like when I mess up or do bad on something, but I'm not afraid of failure. And so when I did this, it kind of helped me overcome that way. It allowed me to be a little bit messier and not be so perfect. And so I colored with 2 different shades of purple, and it was really surprising that I was able to continue the whole sheet of paper. And I'm one, when I use colors, I don't like to put 2 colors next to each other that are, even if they're different shades. So this was something that was kind of difficult for me. But yeah. And in chapter 7, being prepared is a very important skill to have, and it is vital to almost everything you do. Sometimes over planning and not letting life take its course can be a bad thing for you. If you over prepare for something and it goes wrong, everything you have just planned is ruined. So when working with people, it's also very similar to think this. It's really important for how you work with people and how you assemble forces, but sometimes you can't always rely on the people. Perfection is a huge issue that I have for myself. Even though I wouldn't consider myself a perfectionist, I like to just be good at things, but you have to be able to move on from one step to another, and I feel that everything has to have a perfect order for me to move on, but in some cases that's not always true. In the book, it says relying too much on others, waiting for the perfect setup, overthinking structures, feeling obligated to finish what you've started, and working with the wrong materials are not good, and they will not always help you in what you need. And this book was something that was really eye-opening for me. Um, what I need to do to organize my life as I go on in the real world, I feel like this book will be a very vital tool to me as I graduate, and it'll give me a lot of advice to keep up my creativity even though I'm not going into a creative workforce. I want to be able to keep that up, and I feel like this book will be a very good thing for me in the future.